Some people like to wear Louis Vuitton, some people like to wear Levi's, some people like to wear Prada, Versace, and then some people like to wear Pew Pew Pews, you know? It is a free country and a free world, so you wear what you want. It did catch me off guard a little bit, and it was just like, okay, I'm back in America. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Julissa. If you're new here, and as I have been sharing with you all in some of my recent videos, we are officially in Guam, and prior to getting to Guam, we spent about 3 weeks back in the United States, back in mainland United States, visiting friends and family. And during that time that we were back in the mainland United States, I realized that I had been in Europe and specifically Italy for a while, and that there are certain cultural norms back in the United States that are now somewhat odd to me and a little strange. And I thought that would be a great thing to kind of share with you all and to get a little conversation going. So without any further hold up, let's jump into my list. The first strange and weird thing that I realized being back home in the United States, having lived in Italy for a year and a half, was the food. Primarily the fact that I just felt like the food back home is extremely overprocessed. Surprisingly, like, we don't cook a lot of things from scratch or fresh. That was something shocking, even from like some of my family members. I had grown up thinking that, you know, some individuals in my family, they are amazing cooks and they still are cooks, but I thought a part of them being such a great cooker was the fact that they cooked a lot of the things that they were making from scratch. And I realized over the break that like not everything they make was from scratch, and I was shocked. I will literally tell you all, maybe the first 2 weeks of our trip, my stomach was on crank diet. I was in severe pain. Parker got sick. We definitely went through a rough patch initially adjusting to the different food standards back in the United States. Literally after maybe Christmas, I had gotten so frustrated with just feeling like everything that we're eating is frozen, prepackaged, coming out of like a bag, that I had went to the grocery store and literally was like, I just need some fresh groceries, some fresh produce, some food that feels real, feels like it's not over processed with a whole bunch of unnecessary added chemical. If I'm being honest, I am someone historically, I know the right things to eat, but I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I've been very consistent on eating the right things or the most healthiest things. I definitely love potato chips. My good friend back in Italy knows that I love potato chips so much that she would go and get chips from the next and then surprise me, and them chips did not stand a chance because I love potato chips. I love something sweet. I love cookies and things of that sort. So I'm not sitting here saying that I am, you know, the poster child for eating right and healthy, but I will say that having lived in Italy for a year and a half and then going back to the States, it definitely completely changed my view on food. And I'm now at a point now that even in Guam, I'm not going to lower my standards and change my standards when it comes to my food just because I'm back in the United States. So continuing in the category of food, something that is really strange to me being back here in the United States is the culture around eating out, and specifically feeling like when you go out to a restaurant, you're just rushed, like get in, get out, get in, get out. I do understand the reasoning in the United States why, you know, consumers are kind of encouraged to kind of order, eat your food, and then get out as quickly as possible. But I will say that I very much love and appreciate the culture of eating out in Italy and really Europe as a whole, where it's like, hey, you're spending money, sit down, unwind, and enjoy yourself. And not to mention, like in Italy and other parts of Europe, like eating out is seen as family time. So there's not really this push or rush. I always love seeing all of the Instagram videos or memes about people visiting restaurants in Europe, and like you literally sometimes have to like do a little jig to get the attention of your waiter or waitress. It has been an adjustment. And again, for me, it's been a little frustrating going out to eat sometimes and back in America. And it's just like, why am I being rushed? Like, yo, can y'all like, I just got here. Can I have some time to eat? My first time in an American restaurant since we had came back from Italy, and the rush that not the waitress had with us as well as the people I was with, it was like a little frustrating because I was like, dang, like y'all are already ordering y'all main courses. I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to drink right now, let alone I'm not even thinking about what I'm eating because I'm still trying to figure out what am I gonna have to drink. Are we doing an appetizer? And I'm not gonna lie, that like the rush that came with trying to order food and getting it out made me just want to leave. Like I was just like, I don't even want to eat out anymore because I'm just kind of like, what is the point of eating out when it's just like I feel like I have to rush myself. So the next thing that is kind of odd being back in the United States, I don't know if this is the right word, so I'm just gonna say it. It's like consumerism / like influencer marketing culture. Obviously, I'm on YouTube. I am a YouTuber. I make YouTube videos and I am like in the know. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. And so I like to watch videos that kind of dissect certain like popular topics. And I remember some of the YouTubers that I like and enjoy watching doing deep dives and breakdowns talking about, America having consumerism issues. And a lot of them touched on like the Stanley Cup phase where, everyone was buying Stanley Cups. And not only was everyone buying Stanley Cups, but they were buying multiple Stanley Cups. And not only were they buying multiple Stanley Cups, they were buying accessories for their Stanley Cups. And so I watched all those videos in Italy. And when I went out of my house in Italy, I never really saw anyone with Stanley Cups. I know they sold them in the necks, and I remember seeing in one of the military spouse groups that I was a part of, I remember someone was like, hey, they got Stanley Cups in the necks, but I never ran to buy one. And I worked at the base and I never saw anyone with a Stanley Cup. And that was like the Americans. The Italians, I never saw them. Like, I didn't really see that. But then as soon as I like touched down back in the States, it was amazing to me how many people had Stanley Cups. I was just kind of like, what? And then not only did they have Stanley Cups, they had different colors and they had like the little straw toppers, and it was just kind of, it just kind of caught me off guard, and it was a little strange. I understand like, oh snap, like, hey, I want a water bottle, and not just do I want a water bottle, I want something that's going to be able to keep my beverages hot and or cold throughout the entirety of the day. So I understand like the necessity or the desire to buy it. It comes off as a little odd to me seeing everyone kind of fall in line with this trend, and it caught me off guard again, especially having watched videos online about how big Stanley Cups got and everyone rushing to buy them, and not seeing it in my day-to-day life to coming to America and like seeing every single person having a Stanley Cup, to the point where it's like I bought a knockoff. I just wanted like a new water bottle, and so I bought this from the Kroger for like $13, and I was like, look, I just want a new water bottle, nothing to it but to do it, just something to kind of have my water up in there cold and stuff. But then I started seeing everyone with Stanley Cups to the point that I'm like, I almost thought about it. I was like, dang, do I look bad walking around with like a knockoff Stanley Cup? Should I go get a Stanley Cup? I haven't, obviously, because I'm just, nothing wrong with spending the money on the things that you want, but man, if I'm going to spend $40, I'm going to spend it on something else. I'm not at the point where I want to spend $40 on a water bottle. The next thing that was kind of odd and strange seeing back in the United States, having lived in Italy for a year and a half, was people wearing like pew 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 memorabilia, wearing it on hats, wearing it on shirts. It kind of caught me off guard. I remember walking in, because y'all know I said 2 places I was looking forward to going back to the States was Chick-fil-A, and I was excited to go to Kohl's. And I remember going into Kohl's and a woman walking out, and she just had a shirt with like some pew pew pews on it, and it was just kind of like, okay, that's an interesting sense of fashion. You know, I will say that growing up, pew 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 culture, I didn't grow up with a lot of those. I didn't grow up hunting. I didn't grow up with those in my house. So I definitely have a different, it's not something that is near and dear to my heart, but I do understand. And I know a lot of people, I have a lot of friends who that was something they grew up with. Grew up with guns in their house. They grew up with going hunting, and they still go hunting. I actually had I had a few coworkers, especially when I was working in the shipyard, that like they saved their leave for hunting season. It was like they saved it for Christmas and hunting season, and they would take off work going hunting. So again, I do understand that that is a desired activity in sport for certain people. It's just, again, coming from a country that sees a baseball bat as a weapon, let alone pew pew pews. And so it's kind of not a thing. I will say I do know that there are some people who have those things in Italy. It's not completely non-existent. I've heard a few, very rare, like 2 stories of individuals in Italy that have come in contact, whether they witnessed it with their own eyes or unfortunately had a traumatic experience where Italian had a pew pew pew. So they are there, but again, lawfully and legally they're not a thing. And having been out there and it not being a part of the day-to-day culture to coming back home to America, and it's like people have them on shirts and on hats and on trucks, it's like it definitely takes me aback a little bit. And it's just like, okay, but you know, again, some people like to wear Louis Vuitton, some people like to wear Levi's, some people like to wear Prada, Versace, and then some people like to wear pew pew pews. You know, it is a free country and a free world, so you wear what you want. It did catch me off guard a little bit, and it was just like, okay, I'm back in America. And the final thing I'm having to kind of get used to being the norm here in America after having lived in Italy for a year and a half are huge, monstrous trucks. Oh my gosh. I feel like I mentioned it in previous videos, but if not, in Italy, the normal car that you will see are very small, super compact cars. The cars there are just super small, and if you've been in Italy, I'm sure you understand why, because the streets and the roads are super narrow. So having a small car comes in handy. Having been used to seeing small cars on the road and that being the norm. And it's funny because I remember like in the United States when Fiat started, like, I wouldn't say marketing, but Fiat started being a thing in the United States, and smart cars, being in America, those cars seemed so weird because they were small. It was just like, yo, like that, like get that little thing out of here. Like those cars are too small. And now having lived in Italy and seeing like, oh, okay, these are normal here. Like these are their cars. Like they drive small cars, and kind of getting used to it, to now hindsight being back in America, and it's just like, all I see are these big trucks on like these big wheels, and they're so high and they're so long, and it's just like, what? It's been an adjustment. And I literally see these trucks all the time. I'm just like, man, are we moving all the time? Like, why do we need these big trucks? But again, I understand life is too short not to get the things that you enjoy. So if you want a big truck, do you, boo. I'm not here to trample anyone's to, you know, tear down anyone's preference or what they choose to indulge in. So that is my list of things that are kind of odd to me now, having lived back in Italy. And again, I say they're odd to me. This is not me chastising or coming for anyone and what they enjoy, what is normal to them. Thank you so much for watching. If you have left America and visited or moved back, and you realize that certain things are kind of odd or strange to you having lived outside of the United States, drop it down in the comment section. I want to hear your experience. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will see you in the next video below.